if you watched last week's hearing in the Brian Koberger case, that status hearing, you'll know that Ann Taylor brought up concerns about the changes to the Idaho public defender system. Those changes went into effect October 1st. Well, the Coeur d'Alene Press did an article earlier this summer about those changes, and one of the people they interviewed was Ann Taylor. And in that article, she talks about why she went into private practice, because as you know, she left the Kootenai County Public Defender's office earlier this year. It was thought that maybe she had left the office just as a prerequisite to be able to be absorbed up under the state. But no, she decided not to continue being a public defense attorney with the state of Idaho. She is now in private practice, and she is contracted to work on cases for Idaho for people that are indigent and need public defenders, but she is in private practice now. So let's take a look at the article. So the article says Idaho's public defense system is about to undergo a seismic shift, leaving many attorneys and officials concerned about the future of legal representation in the state. Beginning October 1st, a system 10 years in the making will give the newly formed state public defender office broad control over county public defense services. The changes made in response to lawsuits over the state's deficiencies in public defense mean new rules and a pay scale that are already driving experienced attorneys away. So what that system did was originally you had all the counties had their own public defender's offices. So you had people that worked for the county, they were paid by the county, they were the public defenders. The state decided that they were going to take over all of that. So as October 1st, all of those public defenders' offices are now state employees. And they are by districts, not necessarily by county. So they're going by the state district courts. So they absorbed all of them into one state group. And for a lot of people, that's not a good thing. The article goes on to say, ahead of the changeover, several attorneys have left the Kootenai County Public Defender's Office. Among them is Ann Taylor, who led the office from 2017 until this July, when she returned to private practice. Before becoming the county's chief public defender, she worked for the office from 2004 to 2012. I intended to stay until I retired, she said. It was my dream job. Taylor's reservations about the state-run system are no secret. Last year, she shared with legislators her concerns about political influence on the work of public defenders in a system where the governor chooses the director of public defense. She said she believes the new system is underfunded and was created too quickly. Taylor goes on to say, my belief was and is there's not enough money in this new system and it's being pushed too fast. My fear is hundreds and thousands of clients will be harmed. She's not the only one. Kootenai County Prosecuting Attorney Stan Mortensen, by the way, he's not related to Dylan. That was already debunked a long time ago. He said he thinks the new system is flawed, in part because the state rushed to create it. This bill was viewed as a fix, but in a way, it's made things worse, he said. They're drowning. Public defense and prosecution are two sides of the same coin, Mortensen said. One can't exist without the other. He said, our community is blessed. We have very good judges, prosecutors, and police. A big part of why everyone is so good is because we have good public defenders to keep things in check. But what happens when there aren't enough public defenders for the people who need them? We're going to have defendants appear in court, and the public defender's office is not going to have anyone to represent them, Mortensen said. Are the judges going to allow them to make bond arguments? Can they make a competent argument? Are the judges going to feel pressured to release people because it's not their fault they don't have a lawyer? And it goes on to talk about how the state of Oregon is already grappling with this problem. Shortages in public defenders have already violated constitutional rights of low-income people charged with crimes. A federal judge ruled last year that Oregon must provide defense attorneys to anyone in jail within 7 days or release them. Morton says he's concerned that a shortage of public defenders will cause cases to be delayed. Such delays create challenges for prosecutors, he said, but they also pose problems for criminal defendants. These defendants are people, he said. They've been accused of crimes. They're innocent until proven guilty. Some of them are entitled to a free lawyer, and we do not have a system that's going to be able to accommodate their needs. Even so, Mortensen said Kootenai County prosecutors will continue to carry out their duties no matter what happens after October 1st. My office is not going to give more lenient plea deals just because somebody doesn't have an attorney, he said. My office is going to do business as aggressively as before, and we're going to let the chips fall where they may. I owe that to the victims of this community. Now, of course, some people may find that unsavory, and I understand that, but because this was a change that was made through the Idaho legislature, it is going to have to go through the legislature again to be changed. So as of right now, Mortensen, as the prosecutor for Kootenai County, really doesn't have a choice but to prosecute cases the way they normally would. Now, the article goes on to discuss conflict attorneys, and it says, at issue are wages for attorneys who step in when public defenders can't take a case. A conflict attorney is a private attorney assigned to an indigent defendant who can't be represented by a public defender. Now, Ann Taylor is now one of those. Now that she's in private practice, because she's one of only 13 people in the state that is a death penalty certified lawyer, she will be tapped for cases not private practice. A conflict attorney also could be someone that gets tapped when there's no attorneys available for someone, like meaning they have ties in the community. So if there's somebody that has a lot of personal relations with people in the community, including law enforcement and attorneys and judges, then they're going to have to get a conflict attorney. So these are the people that are working in private practice that they will tap to help with cases. Also, if you have everybody taken up already, they're going to have to tap people in private practice. It said 2 years ago, conflict attorneys in Kootenai County were paid between $95 and $110 per hour, depending on the case's type and complexity. It wasn't enough. Current conflict lawyers couldn't take additional cases, and the administrative judge was calling local attorneys late in the evening to find representation, Duncan said. In October 2022, county commissioners raised the rate to $150 per hour for those cases. The article goes on to state that it worked. Kootenai County retained attorneys who were already under contract, and 8 more signed in. Under the new system, however, the county will no longer control the rate of pay. The state public defender's rate is set at $100 per hour, so that's $50 less per hour. Chris Schwartz is one of more than 30 conflict attorneys who helped handle the county's public defense work. Like most of his fellow conflict attorneys, he won't work for the state public defender and will instead let his contract expire September 30th. My office alone has 200 cases that will need a new attorney, and no one knows who that's going to be. Private attorneys who do public defense work are responsible for their own expenses. They pay for their own offices and staff and don't receive benefits that county or state employees receive. For that reason, Schwartz said some conflict attorneys simply can't afford to work for the state's rate. To cut our funding makes it so that we would actually lose money on the proposition. Family law attorney Safa Riyad charges $400 per hour in his private practice, but he was happy to do conflict work at the significantly lower rate of $150 per hour because he believes strongly in indigent defense. I chose to take less compensation for it because I care for the people. Every one of the attorneys who do contract public defense work aren't there to get rich. They're there to do the they're to do the duty that we are taught to do in law school. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to pay the state's bill to do this. That's when you can really let people handle the hearings that they're assigned to, and you don't need to juggle who's going to be in which courtroom, Jay Logston, interim chief public defender for Kootenai County, said. Now remember, when Ann stepped away from Kootenai County, Jay was appointed interim, and Jay is also second chair on the Koberger case. So far, just 7 Kootenai County public defenders have agreed to continue working for the state after October 1st. Across Idaho, about 77% of public defenders will see increased wages under the new system, according to the state public defender's office. Somehow I don't buy that. They say about 7% won't see any change in compensation in the first year. The remaining attorneys, including 4 in Kootenai County, will see their wages drop. Yeah, and that's obviously a problem. State Public Defender Eric Fredrickson said it was painful to deliver that news to the public defenders, who are generally underpaid at the best of times. Really? You think? That was the most difficult days. My most difficult day as an attorney, he said. Still, Fredrickson said the wages and other resources available under the state office, including a statewide case management system and legal research services for all public defenders, will make a major difference in many counties, especially rural ones. The vast majority of public defenders I've talked to throughout the state are incredibly excited. One chief public defender told me the salary changes for that office are life-changing for him. Yeah, which county? Which county is that life-changing for? Because I'd really like to know. But not so much in Kootenai County. Logston will try to fill the ranks in Kootenai County with fresh graduates. He's identified 5 hopefuls who are awaiting their bar exam results and will begin working in the public defender's office if they pass. Logston said the state's office budget, $49 million for the first year, is too small and doesn't account for some counties having a higher cost of living than others. The idea was not to get public defense as cheaply as possible, but the way things are set up, it's obviously made a lot of people pretty unhappy. Still, Logston says he remains optimistic about the state office. There's no reason to think this is how it's going to stay, Logston said. We're all committed to public defense. It's the kind of system that can't be allowed to fail. It's got to find its way. Then the article goes on to talk about the bottom line. No matter where they stand in the debate about the state public defender office, Idaho's public defense attorneys agree on one thing. Idaho needs a robust system for indigent defense. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, Fredrickson said. We can't be deprived of those essentials in our lives without due process of law. Public defenders are the people that stand between the state, society, and their own rights. We're here to protect our clients and make sure they get their essential constitutional protection. He said the goal of the state public defender is to improve client-centered representation throughout Idaho. Of equal importance, he said, is cultivating a holistic approach to public defense in Idaho and a culture where attorneys, social workers, and other staff know how to best serve their clients. Setting the client up in the best position to succeed, whether or not they're convicted, is the only way to really truly represent the client, Fredrickson said. Looking forward to the October 1st changeover, Logston recalled a familiar adage: if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. The vast majority of criminal cases are people who are in poverty who can't afford representation, he said. Having public defense keeps this huge quantity of people from being turned into nails. We humanize them. The system without us in it would be a lot more brutal. If you want the world to just mean anything, you absolutely have to have a strong public defense sector. Ann Taylor emphasized that public defense work is a calling. It's hard work, she said. It's always a fight. You spend a lot of time in the jails. People who do it believe in it. As attorneys transition into the new state office, Taylor urged compassion for Idaho's public defendants. The people who are choosing to stay in public defense are good people, she said. They're smart, they're talented, they're determined, they're real warriors. And this is why I get so mad when I see people like JLR bashing on Ann Taylor, saying that she's just in it for the money. Regardless of what I feel about Ann Taylor or the Koberger case, she's not in it for the money, okay? I have attorneys in my family. They go through hell going through law school, and you pay out a lot of money as well, and you just expect a little bit of compensation back to pay for student loans for law school, etc. And when a public defender is only getting paid $100 an hour, less than that, when in private practice you can get paid $400 or $500 an hour, it's ludicrous. I understand why the state of Idaho wanted to try to centralize, but they also, to me, violated separation of powers, because cities, counties, and states, the state shouldn't, in my opinion, take over the county public defense system. I think this is not going to work. I feel like it was a bad decision to begin with by the governor. I understand completely what Ann Taylor's upset about and why she went into private practice, and I don't blame her because she can make a lot more in private practice. Jay Logston seems like he's trying to toe the line because he is currently working for the county and doesn't want to rock the boat with the state, but $100 an hour isn't going to cut it when you're trying to provide a defense for somebody, especially maybe be in a death penalty case. And that's why Anne was getting so much for Coburger. So hopefully her contract that she's going to work out with Latah County is going to be good, because it's ridiculous how little public defenders, not just public defenders, but also prosecutors, are getting paid. Because if they were in private practice, they'd be getting 3 to 4 times that. And we don't appreciate these people enough. So, but I just wanted to post this article to let you be aware of it.